Hey George, I've been taking a look through your Google Webmaster Tools and analytics information for your Western horse riding site. Um, I want to give you some, direction here on what to do next, or where you can make some improvements to try to really get a decent amount of traffic into your site, because you're really just on the cusp of it with this one. Um, I like to use both Google Webmaster Tools and Analytics to obtain this kind of information. One of the things that I will do is just simply go through all of the different pages that they have available to you. Some of them can provide useful information and others not so much. But I first noticed this two warnings right here on the sitemaps when I first got into Webmaster Tools. So I wanted to go and see what that was about. Uh, the two warnings here that show up are some URLs in the sitemap have a high response time. And it shows this page, and then it also shows the date that the issue was detected on. Now, there's no guarantee here that this showing up, that it really means anything, especially since it's only showing up for two pages of your site. It's possible that it might have just tried to access that maybe when some updates were being made, or maybe when that server was, experiencing a little bit of lag or something of that nature. So this may not be a serious problem, but one thing that you could possibly do in the meantime, while you're kind of trying to build up your traffic on this site, is essentially try to remove as much from the site as you can in terms of extra things that are loading on it. Um, for example, on the Cheyenne Rowdy Riding helmet page, things like the Zon Discount Finder, extra little plugins and stuff like that that may not be absolutely necessary, and especially ones that aren't going to take anything away from your current page content. So for example, if I look in the source of it, there's something I think called maybe emoji. Easy Azon Pro could probably stay. If there's a way to, let's see, Zon Discount Finder is definitely loading at least some kind of JavaScript and stuff up. Maybe even, I'd be hesitant to say remove the social buttons though. If you can test out loading speeds on your site, and essentially you want to have it running as fast as you possibly can, and Google will give, better rankings to a faster loading site. So it is possible that this could maybe be affecting you a little bit. However, it's not showing up across, all of the pages on your site. So it doesn't look to be an overall site issue, so it may not be necessary to, go through and disable a bunch of stuff. But, if you do feel like the site loads a little on the slow side, you may want to try to disable a couple of non-essential plugins and stuff like that for the time being until you can get some higher rankings. And then you can always re-enable things, and it's less likely that the rankings would slip down at that point. Another thing you can do is to use some kind of caching plugin, W3 Total Cache. I think that's the default one that comes with WordPress now. Things like that can go a long way to speeding up the loading time of your site if you don't already have things like that in use. I'm kind of wanting to say, digging through a little bit, that I figured out that at least Google was showing that things weren't being cached, or browser caching wasn't enabled or something of that nature. On the site error page, there is also this, let's see, this was from a month ago. I'm not sure if this was possibly on the Impact Gel saddle page or the Synthetic Saddles Endurance Riding page, but it looks like one of those pages is maybe trying to link to the other page, and it looks like there is some kind of an issue there with that. It could maybe even be, I guess it could be on a different page. Oh, wait a second. This is saying it's linked from these other sites. What you may want to do with this is take this entire URL right here that it's showing and put a forward slash on the very beginning of it and load this up into the Simple 301 redirects plugin. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if you use that one or not. If you have any questions about that one, let me know though. But I would add this into the text box on the left with a forward slash on it, and then on the right, I would put in a forward slash Impact Gel Saddle Pad forward slash and leave it at that. That would redirect this bad URL to a working URL on your site. Now, in addition to that, I don't think I noticed any problems elsewhere as far as other things that Google will usually alert you to. On your content keyword page, I like to look at this sometimes just to see what Google views your site as being about. And this can kind of be like a keyword cloud, if you will, of the most common stuff that's on your site. While you do want your site to be kind of focused on a couple of different topics, obviously these would be your most focused topics, I would try to expand out some of your other topics and keyword usage to the point where you have a decent number of other ones that are ranked as a higher significance on your site. This may even mean taking some of your uses of the word saddle and the different variants, and horse and riding even. Take these three words and try to eliminate uses of them. Not a ton of them, but replace them with words that mean essentially the same thing. Synonyms of these words. You could also just possibly omit them entirely or replace them with something like a pronoun, or just saying it or that, something of that nature. That should also increase the significance of some of the other words on your site. Not that you want to heavily decrease these, but what I'm saying is you kind of want to get more of these lower down to be more, in this middle road area right here as far as the significance goes. And you can accomplish that by either reducing your usage of these or increasing your usage of particular keywords here that you want to move up the line. Or maybe even a little combination of both. And you would just do that throughout all of the different pages of content on your site. This isn't just for one specific page. This is throughout everything. Now, one of the other things here in Google Analytics or Google Webmaster Tools that I wanted to point out is the Search Analytics page. This one's fairly new. It's still in beta, and I don't recall this one as of a while ago. They've had this kind of thing before, but they haven't always provided as much information as they're starting to provide now. What I like to do here, though, is to add the impressions and the position onto it. And then I will look over here and rank all these by impressions. Now you can see you're not getting a ton of clicks off of these yet. However, a lot of your rankings on them are still, below the first couple of pages. So obviously, if you can get onto the top page or maybe even onto the second page for the higher traffic phrases, you'll start to see some traffic from them. If you are getting a lot of impressions, but you're not getting very many clicks, so if your click-through ratio was extremely low on particular ones, you might need to maybe make the title of your page a little more intriguing and or the description of your page, the meta description. That way when people see your page listed in the search results, they're more inclined to click on it because they're, a little drawn to it. Whereas pages with, a fairly basic title, for example, or, not leaving much to mystery, I suppose, they tend to get lower click-through rates in general. However, when you're dealing with a much lower position, like here your average position is 46 and your click-through rate is 1.75, I wouldn't worry too much about a really low click-through rate until you get on page 1 or page 2 for a fairly high traffic keyword. Then if your click-through rate is suffering, then you need to maybe make some minor adjustments to your title or your description. Even start with your description first. If you make changes to your title, maybe add words on to the end of it or something. Just make sure you're not removing any of your important keywords because you obviously don't want your ranking to fall. Oh, I think I'm coming down with the sinus cold. Now, beyond using this information, looking at click-through rates to, make changes to your titles and your descriptions to try to increase the number of clicks you get from the rankings. At your current point, you're more interested in cranking up your rankings, period. And then you'll worry about increasing your click-through ratios. So what you want to do to try to increase your rankings is first to identify your pages with the most potential, essentially, for both high traffic keyword phrases and also for sales potential, and also the best potential for being able to maybe push through competition that's actually in the top pages of the higher traffic keywords. So what I like to do is to sort my searches by impressions. And so I'm not looking for the ones that are performing great, but I'm looking for the ones that might offer the most potential for me. And I can do that based on impressions because a lot of the lower position keywords, in order for you to be getting impressions on those keywords, but at a really, really low position, then that simply means that a lot of people are searching that keyword phrase, and that some people actually end up making it that far down the list. And so that's where those impressions are coming from. So on Horse Grooming Kit, for example, even though you're at number 117, which would take, 11, 12 pages down to actually reach you, 23 people have managed to get down that far. Let's see what we're doing. Horse Grooming Kit. So just as an example, if I look up Horse Grooming Kit, we can see that there's 480. Now that's not an incredibly high amount. Chances are, I would say, considering you got 23 impressions off of 480, some of these keywords might be, some vendors or even other affiliates and stuff that are looking 10, 15, 20 pages down, and they'll sometimes cause impressions to, show up that far down the list. But regardless, you can still look at, the Horse Grooming Kit and the Horse Grooming Kit's keywords and obviously see that, there is traffic there for them, and, you have a position on both of them. This one's ranking at 71, and, that one's at 117. So you want to identify where you show some kind of potential in Google, but you obviously want to have the least amount of work to do to actually get up to those top rankings. So as a comparison, why'd that kill that? As a comparison here, your Horse Grooming Kit, where you're ranking at 117, and then you have other ones where maybe you're ranking in the 40s on average that are up here. The ones that are in the 40s are going to be a lot easier to bump up to page 1 or to page 2 than the one that's sitting down on page 12 or whatever currently. So I would tend to focus on your higher average ranking keyword phrases, but you still want to be focusing on the ones that can offer you the most potential for traffic, basically. So your couple of top ones up here, we have Impact Gel saddle pads, Billy Cook saddles, Western tack sets is, up here in the impressions ranking fairly decent, but the average position is already in the middle of page 2. I would likely guess that there's simply less traffic for this keyword phrase. And so that's why there's not a lot of impressions. Even if you got to page 1 on Western tax sets, there might not be a lot of traffic available there. You might want to, on this page, maybe look around and see if there are some different, more specific keywords possibly that could be targeted that actually have more traffic for them. I would assume, there's got to be relating to Western tax sets some kind of keyword phrase that has a decent amount of traffic though. So you might need to readjust targeting on certain pages like this that maybe they are not looking like they have a high potential for getting traffic there. Your other pages though, like the Impact Gel saddle pads, the Billy Cook saddles, especially since I'm seeing like right down here, Impact Gel saddle pad, the singular form of that search. These two pages are on average ranking in the mid 40s, which is pretty decent and could have the potential for, getting up into the first page or two on those. What I like to do though, once I kind of have a couple of pages to focus on, so the Billy Cook saddles and Impact Gel saddle pads, I will go over to the Google Keyword Planner and I will try to take a look at the traffic that is available for those keyword phrases because I want to know what the potential is going to be if I can get into the top 10. Now on Impact Gel saddle pads, it's only 260, but on the singular version, there's 880. And you do have, some kind of position here on both of these. So with that said, that one looks like it at least has some kind of potential. So what I'll then do is go over to Google and search for one of them. Now, I will look at what is actually showing up here in the rankings in terms of non-ads. So going down below where the ads begin, impactgel.com, 2 pages for that site, in fact, are ranking number 1 and number 2. We have eBay's Impact Gel saddle pad at number 3. And down below looks like a couple of TAC, most likely e-commerce sites, and there's Valley Vet site, horse.com, nrsworld.com. There could be some potential maybe for breaking into some of these pages in terms of getting into page 1 for Impact Gel saddle pad. However, you probably couldn't get into the top 2 to 3 spots. At best, I would say right here might be about the highest achievable one. Even then, though, it would probably take a decent amount to push past all of these guys. What I will try to do is find some kind of informational web page that is ranking for this keyword. I can see some YouTube videos starting to show up on page 2. I want to say this was the first one that I found when I was searching through this before. This one is sitting at, say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. At number 16, we have this page on saddle pads and what manufacturers don't tell you. If you look at this page, you can see the amount of content that has gone into it. I like to try to find one of these content-based pages because with the kind of site that you're building, you might need to essentially match an equal amount of content to them to be able to achieve a similar ranking. The one exception to this is kind of if your site is more centered around that entire topic than their site would be. They are centered around horse-related topics, so they are at least somewhat drilled in on that. They might have many other pages on their site possibly that have to do with saddle pads or even impact gel saddle pads. From the look of it, though, it really just appears like this is nothing but a text article, though. So this one is a really good one to go off of in terms of you might need to beat this amount of content to be able to break that ranking. Now, also consider whether the article or the page is specifically centered around what you're going to be talking about. You know, this is really about saddle pads in general, whereas yours is specifically about impact gel saddle pads. So with yours being a little more targeted than theirs is, it is possible you could match their ranking with less content than they are using. However, I would still kind of use this as a little bit of a reference for something like that. I also did a keyword density analyzer on this page. This page, including stop words, has a total of 3,928 words on it. And this would be including everything in the sidebar, everything at the top, even like the title of the page and things of that nature is factoring all of that in. So that's not just the article, but a decent chunk of that, I'm sure, is likely the article. It's probably 3,000 to 3,500 words in length. Not including stop words, there's 956 unique words on the page. I think that's also important. Unique words are kind of expanding you into, you know, more relational topics. It gives you more semantic value in your writing. So if you can write about as many different relational topics as you can on that page, you're a lot more likely to, you know, get the better rankings. I also like using this keyword density thing. If you just search keyword density on Google, you usually get this SEO Book 1 as the #1 ranking. The only thing I changed, I believe, was to make it show the one word. So I just reduced the 2 down to a 1 in those initial settings. So it would show me 1, 2, and 3 word phrases that are the most commonly used words on the page. So I can see they're not overdoing it in terms of density. They just have an immense amount of content, but then these are still the most common words: saddle and pads and felt, wool, synthetic materials, cell, fit, compression, foam, protection. So when you get this kind of a reference, you can kind of identify words that relate to this topic, and Google knows this kind of stuff. You know, when you throw a bunch of these words all together and Google analyzes this kind of thing, it can, you know, assign a topic essentially to what that page is about based on, you know, the relevance and usages and different occurrences of different semantic words throughout your text. So if I don't have a lot of knowledge about a niche that I want to write about and I need to add more content, more in-depth content, I'll go and try to find a competing page that is ranking extremely well for the keyword that I'm going for. And I especially focus on what's most likely a non-authority type of page that looks to be getting their ranking based off of just having a really good in-depth article. And then I'll run the density analyzer on this and try to identify some words and phrases and stuff here that heavily relate to my topic, but maybe they're not words and phrases that I'm currently using. And then I will try to write, a paragraph or something of content about some of these phrases, closed cell and open cell, and maybe even talk about some of the other types of pads, do, a little mini comparison, like how does this compare to wool or synthetic or foam or, whatever all the different choices for saddle pads may be. By mentioning this kind of stuff farther down in your page content, not up in, your first paragraph or two, you're adding all of this semantic content in for Google to be able to really assign you a better ranking with. So I like to use this as kind of word fodder for being able to expand my own content on my page. And then I also like to use where I can find that page at in the rankings as a gauge of, where I might be able to get a ranking up to, or what I might have to do in order to achieve a similar level of ranking there. So with that said, on Impact Gel Saddle Pad, for example, we have 880 monthly searches. However, this is obviously a pretty hefty amount of content that they have used to get that ranking, but it doesn't seem to be 100% centered around Impact Gel saddle pads. In fact, they don't even use the word Impact Gel. They talk about gel packs and impact blows. So they are using those words. So this article is likely a highly respected article having to do with saddle pads in general, and it just happens to be getting a ranking on Impact Gel saddle pads. The same thing can kind of be said here on page number 1 for this impactgel.com. I went and took a look at this site. While they do have this one page here where they have felt and wool, what looks to be Impact Gel saddle pads, so they do have this kind of product, and obviously they have all of these different pages, I don't know, 15, 20 pages or something just here that are all about Impact Gel saddle pads. They even have other pages here as well about saddle pads. So they might have 40, 50 pages on their website having to do with saddle pads, and then their site is about Impact Gel too. So I bet they rank really high on a lot of Impact Gel searches, period. Another reason why it might be pretty difficult, if not practically impossible, to bust into the top couple of rankings here. I do still think, though, with a really in-depth, highly focused article, that you could maybe break into the bottom of page 1 on this one. But I do think it would take a pretty decent amount of work. You might need a 3,000-4,000 word article, a whole bunch of different images. If you have any possible way that you could come up with some unique images that you could, load up on that page that have to do with that subject matter, Things like that can go a long way, or even help you to get some rankings in Google image search. So with this page, I do think it's possible, but I do think it would take a decent amount of work to get there. Now, I wanted to point out one other one, the Billy Cook saddles. I want to check this one out just to give you kind of a bit of a comparison. With Billy Cook saddles, we have 2,900 monthly searches. So we obviously have a lot more potential traffic for this one than we do for the other one. And our ranking is not too much worse. We're only a little farther down the same page that we were with the Impact Gel saddle pad. So the Billy Cook saddles, as far as traffic and position goes, it looks like it may offer the most potential for our current placement, at least with some of the top ones. And I assume these would be your higher traffic phrases with the rankings. It's possible some of the higher numbers that are showing up, anything higher than the 40s basically on that list as far as the position goes. When you get down into the 50s and 60s and 70s and so on, and even higher than that, some of these phrases may have a decent amount of traffic. It could be worth building up, but again, they might require a decent amount of work to actually get you up there. I also like to look at what other rankings I might have with this page. Billy Cook saddles. You have Billy Cook saddlery, used Billy Cook saddles. There might even be some more Billy Cook Saddle Company. So you have a number of other ones where you're getting some kind of a ranking on them. And it could be worth kind of having a couple of paragraphs of content on that page specifically devoted to those individual topics to try to increase the rankings on them. In terms of your main one, though, the Billy Cook saddles, we'll go and search this one too. Now, this one here is interesting. I want to say Chick Saddlery. I think I saw them at the top of page 2 on that previous search, so they do seem to be pretty prevalent in the industry. You have eBay up in here. eBay's not impossible to beat. I definitely like the top of the rankings, though. I like the top 10 look of this keyword phrase a lot more than the Impact Gel one. The Impact Gel one seemed to have some pages there that were heavily rooted in maybe half of the keyword phrase, but they were still getting a really great ranking. Whereas a lot of these look a little more specific to the topic, and I don't see super powerful types of websites in here. Sure, you have eBay, but this is just a listing of whatever products are there. They might have some kind of an article possibly. Going down to page 2, the Facebook page for the Billy Cook Manufacturing Company is there. This may be one of those auto-generated pages, though. I never actually went and looked at that one. What I did notice going through here, though, is that I again was looking for something more content-based as opposed to being more of an e-commerce kind of a website. Something along the lines of what we're basically creating and could be kind of direct competition for us. So this one here, BillyCookSaddlesBlog.com, technically is probably violating copyright or trademark laws, but what we're really interested in with this site is the fact that, number one, this is definitely an affiliate website. They're using ShareASale for their promotions. It's possible ShareASale might offer a better commission potentially on that kind of equipment. Could even be worth something checking out for you down the line once you get a decent amount of traffic and stuff to a site. You know, you sometimes want to say, okay, is there somewhere I could make even better money than Amazon, or maybe somewhere that people buy more frequently than Amazon? You know, if there's a better deal or something on different websites or networks or something, especially then if you can offer people a better deal and get a better commission at the same time, can sometimes be a win-win. The part, though, that we're really interested in here is the fact that this is basically a text-based website. Now, they have made, I didn't even look at this video. They have made this little video here. I'd be willing to bet this is probably just like, yeah, basic slideshow video, something, you know, that can be done in Explaindio, no problem at all. So, you know, pretty basic video that they have there, even though it is one that they made just for their site, even though it has another website, Horse Saddle Shop, stamped up above it there. Beyond that video, though, we do not have a lot of content on this page. However, this is the home page of the entire site. And, you know, it is worth noting that they have all of these other pages on their site that each have to do with a specific Billy Cook saddle. Man, they're using a really huge image up at the top, and then they have a pretty basic amount of information. The point here, though, is that, let me look at their sitemap. Overall, they do not have really a lot going on for them here in terms of their site. They just have a lot of pages, and as a result, this is the kind of lower quality, you know, affiliate site that has existed and been able to survive in Google rankings to a certain extent, but there will be a day when this site just completely disappears from the Google rankings. I can pretty much guarantee that. However, though, what's important to note, besides the little bit of content on the homepage article, is that this is a site heavily devoted to just those Billy Cook saddles, obviously. So they have tons of pages on their site that are all about Billy Cook saddles, and specifically about a very particular one. So, you know, they are hitting on all of these important keyword phrases in terms of the sizes and the different models and names and stuff: Arabian, California, Mule, Nebraska, Silver, WJ Trail, so on and so forth. You know, all this stuff is, again, that semantic content that Google is on the lookout for. And so whoever created this one has essentially just been able to spam all of that. Hold on, there was a second page. Are there more? Okay, just couple little additional pages there. So for the most part, they have 40 to 50 pages on their site possibly. A lot of them heavily having to do with Billy Cook saddles. But again, if you look at any individual page, it looks like there's pretty much next to no content. And I do wonder if, this might not even be unique content potentially. It's kind of hard to say. This might be the content coming directly off of the product page for ShareASale. So for certain pages of your site, like the Billy Cook Saddle one, you could obviously expand the content on that one individual page very heavily. You can also do that and then have, individual pages featuring different saddles, and obviously try to cover as many of them as possible to the point where, they all link back to that original page of yours for the Billy Cook saddles. And you help to reinforce the rankings of it by building up more secondary content on your page that's kind of devoted to linking back to that page. Or you can build it up on one really, really long page for that subject. But for something like the Billy Cook saddles, where you are going to have many different sub-products in there, and if you wanted to go into a lot of detail about each one of those, for example, basically, if you were to take the Billy Cook saddle page on your site and essentially expand it into kind of a my version of this site, where you have good in-depth content and all of these subpages for different saddles, and you have good in-depth content on all of those, you would beat this website in a heartbeat. And they're down on page 2 for this one. But again, this one has 3,000 searches, so I bet that blog gets a pretty decent amount of traffic. That blog might even make a couple $100 a month or something off of that ranking, with having reviews on each of those individual saddles, because they're likely getting some rankings on some of those saddle pages too. So you can sometimes, by using the Webmaster Tools and Analytics information, identify pages on your site that have this kind of potential to them and expand them out, not necessarily all at once. You can do this slowly at first, expand out the Billy Cook saddle page itself with a lot more content to begin with. And if you see that your rankings are increasing some, you can then start to build on some subpages for it that each feature a specific saddle, and continue adding those on as needed to then again increase your rankings. So you can kind of gauge how far you would need to go. You wouldn't have to do it all at once. You just kind of do the work gradually and work your way up the rankings. But I do feel pretty confident that if you could get into the top 2 pages of Billy Cook saddles, you'd probably be making some regular commissions off of that site. Now, I don't know if Amazon has that product available or not. However, even if they didn't, focus on getting the rankings for it first, and then you could always set up with something like ShareASale. If you have a lot of traffic coming in to a very specific topic like that, it can be worthwhile to maybe set up a different affiliate network for it if Amazon doesn't seem to offer the product selection or something, or maybe the prices that you need it at. Now, Over in Google Analytics, there were just a couple of things I wanted to point out beyond what I was already showing you there on the Google Webmaster Tools. One of them is the geographic location. Your site does seem to be heavily centered with United States traffic. I wonder... I wanted to look at the traffic type here. I was looking for the organic ones. So this would be the breakdown of the search traffic that you're actually getting on the site. You know, you see China showed up fairly heavily in that initial list with 56 sessions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of Chinese traffic on your site. That might be like bot traffic. It might be coming off of, you know, some kind of a forum or something like that. What you're really interested in, though, especially initially, is, you know, where your search traffic is coming from. And that does look to mostly be from the US. Australia, Canada would be your number 2 and 3. They're tied. The UK coming in. So, you know, that's a perfect lineup of the countries that you want to see as the top countries. So it does look like you are attracting the right kind of traffic that you want to have in order to, you know, be referring sales on Amazon.com products. So that's something else important that I tried to take a look at. You also have acquisition under search engine optimization. Both the queries and the landing pages here I like to look at. You kind of get similar amounts of information with this list as you did with the other one. However, they have this Google property. This is something I more recently kind of figured out. I'd always wondered why the stats here in analytics weren't always, I don't know, accurate, or the numbers didn't seem to add up or something of that nature. Part of it has to do with the fact that they only show you some of the data. For example, right here, they're only showing 29.4% of the total search impressions that is actually going on. So there's a lot more going on here that they're not showing us. However, they should be showing us kind of a snapshot view of what it is. So we should be getting the more popular ones, if nothing else. The Google property, though, when you're in the queries page, I think they always show up as web here, but on the landing pages one, these are the numbers I never quite understood, was the impression count here. This is showing 6,600 impressions, whereas on the queries I was only getting 1,000. And even if you look at the total number here, it's still only showing 3,500. Well, if you set your secondary dimension to the Google property, you can actually see what's going on with that now. And that's the the Google property is not always web. Sometimes it'll be something else, like images or video or something of that nature. So whatever images you have on these specific pages of your site, those images are receiving these impressions and these clicks, and these are the average positions of those images. But this is in Google image search. So then you also have the web ones if you sort by the property there. And I like to set the rows to a higher number. And you even have like mobile smartphone here. So I get image and mobile and web. So I can see who's coming through on their cell phone, who's coming through from the normal Google web property. So the web property here would be more like a standard Google search. So if I sort by impressions, but then also look under Google property and look for the first ones that begin to show up as web, you can see the individual pages that are getting the most exposure on Google and their impression number along with their current positions and click-through rates and so on and so forth. So this a lot of times will simply reconfirm what you found out in Google Webmaster Tools. But this isn't keyword based here on the landing pages. This is per page based on your site. So as a comparison, over here, whereas we have Billy Cook Saddles and Billy Cook Saddlery and used Billy Cook Saddles, all these different keyword phrases that you are getting rankings for, this kind of summarizes it into each of those individual pages for you. So this is for the web one, is for all of your Billy Cook Saddlery page rankings. It's showing 150 impressions and an average ranking of 34. Now, this again helps you to identify the currently best pages of your site and also the ones that might offer the most potential for expansion. I walked you through Billy Cook Saddlery and Impact Gel Saddle Pad and kind of thoughts on either of those, on expanding them. Things that I talked about with either of those sections, though, could really apply to any page of your site. I was just trying to give some specific references for you to kind of start with to use to figure out, I guess, my whole process here that I go through with this. Now, beyond the number one page, definitely check out some of your additional pages going down the list. Western Riding Helmets would be the next up, Troxel Cheyenne, going down. But again, look at your average positions too and see if there is room to be making a lot of improvement or not. You have pretty good rankings on this particular page already. You're up in the 5.3 on average, so that's average of the middle of the first page on every keyword that you rank for on that. But there's still only 90 impressions for it, so chances are there's just simply not a lot of search traffic out there for that. So I definitely wouldn't be worrying too much about expanding this particular page. But, other pages, the Billy Cook Saddlery page would probably be my number one choice for a page to expand. Beyond that, without knowing keyword traffic of some of these other pages, it would be kind of hard to say, though. However, the higher the average position, the more potential that there is hidden impressions. But again, you really kind of want to only be focusing on the ones that say web right here. So just looking through this one, how to best choose youth saddles, ranks average of the 40s but gets 70. There's a possibility there might be some keyword phrases that this one is ranking for, that there could be some extra potential there. Let's see. The Ariat Men's Rambler boot, even though the traffic again has gone a little lower, your average ranking is 59, so that's a little higher. So that might mean that there could be some traffic in that one too. I'm pretty sure I've looked at that one before, and I think there is traffic in it, but there might be a little more competition with that one and a little less content that you can actually talk about. So hopefully this will give you a good general idea of how you can take the analytics and Webmaster Tools information and use it for research, use it to help you to figure out what to do next on any given website that you track this kind of thing for. But as far as this individual website at the current point in time, I'd say expand Billy Cook's Saddlery and make that page long, in-depth content, and then maybe even continue to expand that page with sub-pages, each of which would cover a specific saddle of his or in that product line or whatever. So as always, feel free to let me know if you have any questions about anything I've gone over, but hopefully that'll give you some a good starting point.